The email arrived at 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was standing in my kitchen with a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago, staring out the window at rain I didn't remember starting, when my phone buzzed. Just once, the kind of buzz that means email, not text, the kind I usually ignore until I'm actually awake. But something made me look, maybe instinct, maybe fate, maybe just the universe deciding it was time to break me all over again. The sender line made my hands go numb. Daniel Morrison, my husband's name, my dead husband's name, the man I buried 5 years, 2 months, and 16 days ago. The subject line said 3 words that made the room tilt. When you're ready. I dropped the phone. It clattered against the tile, screen up, and I could still see those words glowing in the dim morning light. Daniel Morrison. When you're ready. Impossible. Completely impossible. And yet there it was. An email from a dead man, sent at exactly 6:47 a.m., 5 years after his heart stopped beating. My name is Laura. I'm 39 years old, though most days I feel about 70. I've been a widow for 5 years, half a decade, 60 months, 1,857 days, but who's counting? I am. I've counted every single one. Daniel and I met when we were 23. College sweethearts sounds too simple, too clean, but that's what we were. We met in a philosophy class neither of us wanted to take. He sat behind me and spent the entire semester making quiet jokes about Kant and Descartes that only I could hear. I'd try not to laugh. I'd fail every time. By the end of the semester, he'd asked me out 17 times. I said no, 16 times. The 17th time, I said yes. We were married by 25, too young. Everyone said, too fast. But when you know, you know. And I knew. Daniel was the kind of person who remembered details. The way I liked my coffee with too much cream and 1 sugar. The fact that I hummed when I was nervous. That I couldn't sleep without a fan running. Even in winter, he noticed things. He paid attention. He made me feel like I was the most important thing in every room we entered together. We had 12 years, 12 good years, and then we had 1 terrible one. The diagnosis came on a Thursday in March. Multiple sclerosis, aggressive. Progressive, the kind that doesn't just slow you down but shuts you down, piece by piece, until there's nothing left but a body that can't do what your brain is desperately telling it to do. The neurologist used words like deterioration and palliative and quality of life, and Daniel sat there nodding like he was listening to a weather report instead of a death sentence. When we got to the car, he didn't cry. He just looked at me and said, "Well, that's inconvenient." That was Daniel. Even dying, he tried to make it easier for everyone else. The disease moved fast, faster than the doctors predicted. Within 6 months, he needed a cane. Within 8, a wheelchair. Within 10, he couldn't feed himself, couldn't dress himself, couldn't do any of the 1,000 small things that make you feel human. I became his caregiver, his nurse, his everything. I bathed him. I fed him. I helped him use the bathroom. I watched the man I loved disappear into a body that was betraying him 1 nerve at a time. He died on a Monday, February 23rd, morning. I was sitting next to his hospital bed, holding his hand, when his breathing changed, got shallow, then stopped. The monitor made that sound, the long, flat sound that means there's nothing left to measure. The nurse came in. She was kind. She said the words people say, "I'm sorry for your loss. He's at peace now. You were with him at the end, and that matters." But it didn't matter. Not really. Because he was gone, and I was still here. And peace is a word people use when they don't know what else to say. I pick up my phone with shaking hands. The email is still there. Still real. Still impossible. I sink into the kitchen chair, the same chair where Daniel used to sit every morning, reading the news on his tablet with his coffee, occasionally reading headlines out loud that annoyed him. "Listen to this," he'd say, and I'd pretend to be interested in whatever political nonsense had irritated him that day. I'd give anything to hear him complain about politics now. The email is sitting there unopened, waiting, mocking me with its existence. I think about deleting it, just swiping left and pretending it never came, because maybe it's spam, maybe it's some sick algorithmic mistake, maybe some bot scraped his old email address and is using it for phishing scams or selling cryptocurrency. That happens, right? Dead people's emails get hacked, get reused, get turned into spam factories, except the email provider is one I recognize. One Daniel set up himself 7 years ago for important documents, Not his regular Gmail, his official email, as he called it, the one he used for legal stuff, medical records, financial documents, the one with two-factor authentication and a password I never knew. I open the email. The loading circle spins, once, twice, 3 times. My heart is pounding so hard I can feel it in my throat. The email loads. My dearest Laura, if you're reading this, it's been exactly 5 years since I died. 5 years to the day, to the hour, to the minute. I scheduled this email on February 23rd. At 6:47 a.m., the exact time. I asked the nurse what time it was, and she told me. And I thought, that's when Laura usually wakes up. That's her time. I know this is going to be a shock. I know you probably dropped your phone. I know you're sitting in the kitchen right now, probably in my chair, trying to figure out if this is real or if you're losing your mind. It's real. I'm really writing this. Or I really wrote this. Tense is complicated when you're already dead. I'm using a service called FutureNote. It's designed for people like me. People who know they're dying and want to leave messages for later, much later. You can schedule emails years in advance. Set them to send on specific dates, specific times. I've scheduled several. This is the first one. Why 5 years? Why not right after I died? Why not on our anniversary, or my birthday, or some other significant dates? Because I needed you to have time to grieve, time to be angry, time to fall apart and put yourself back together without me haunting you from beyond the grave with emails and messages and reminders of what you lost. 5 years felt right. Long enough for the sharpest pain to dull. Long enough for you to start building a life without me. But not so long that you've completely moved on. Not so long that this email feels like a ghost from a life you barely remember. I hope I got the timing right. I have to stop reading, put the phone down, walk to the sink, run cold water over my hands because they're shaking too badly to hold anything. The water is freezing. Shocking. Real. This is real. This email is real. Daniel wrote this 5 years ago, knowing he'd be dead when I read it, and he scheduled it to arrive at exactly the right moment. How did he know? How did he know that 5 years would be exactly long enough for the grief to become bearable, but not so long that I'd forgotten how to miss him? I dry my hands, pick up the phone, keep reading. I want to tell you about the last good day. Do you remember? It was 3 weeks before I died. You'd been sleeping in the hospital chair for 6 nights straight, and you looked exhausted, haunted, like you were dying faster than I was. I told you to go home, take a shower, sleep in a real bed. You refused. You always refused. You'd stay until I made you leave, and even then you'd be back within hours. But that day, I insisted. I told you I wasn't going anywhere in the next 8 hours and that if you didn't leave, I'd have the nurses physically remove you. You laughed. You hadn't laughed in weeks, and the sound of it made me happier than I'd been in months. You left. You went home, and I did something I'd been planning for 2 weeks. I called my brother. I asked him to bring me my laptop, fully charged, and to set it up on the hospital tray so I could reach the keyboard. It took me 45 minutes to type 3 paragraphs because my hands barely worked, but I did it. I wrote the first draft of this email, then I wrote 4 more. Different versions for different years. This one for year 10, one for year 15, one for year 25, one for year 50, just in case you live to be 90, and you need to hear from me one last time when you're old and gray and hopefully, finally, ready to let me go completely. Each email has a purpose. Each one is scheduled for a specific time when I think you'll need to hear from me. This one, the 5-year INA, is about permission. My vision is blurring. There are tears on the screen. I wipe them away, but more come. They won't stop coming. Laura, I need to tell you something. I need you to listen. Really listen. You didn't fail me. I know you think you did. I know you've spent the last 5 years replaying every decision, every moment, wondering if you could have done something differently. If you could have saved me. If you could have made it easier. If you could have been better, stronger, more patient, more present. You couldn't. There was nothing you could have done. The MS was always going to win. That's what it does. It doesn't care how much you love someone. It doesn't care how hard you try. It just takes and takes until there's nothing left to take. But here's what I need you to understand. You gave me everything. Every single day of that last year, you showed up. You didn't run. You didn't hide. You didn't pretend it wasn't as bad as it was. You looked at the worst parts of my disease, the humiliation, the helplessness, the loss of dignity, and you loved me anyway. You loved me through all of it. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how many people can't do that? How many people run when things get hard? You didn't run. You stayed. And that gave me something I never would have had otherwise. I got to die knowing I was loved completely, not despite my disease, but through it, with it, around it. That's the greatest gift anyone's ever given me. I'm sobbing now. Full, body-shaking sobs that make it hard to breathe. The kind of crying I haven't done in years because I taught myself to stop, because grief that loud felt self-indulgent, because other people had it worse, because I was supposed to be strong. But Daniel's giving me permission. 5 years late, but permission nonetheless. I keep reading through tears that won't stop. Now for the hard part. The part I need you to hear, even though it's going to hurt. I need you to let me go. Not forget me. Never forget me. But let me go. Stop living in the past. Stop measuring every new experience against the life we had. Stop holding back from joy because you think being happy means betraying my memory. It doesn't, Laura. It doesn't. I've been dead for 5 years. That's 1,825 days. That's 1,825 sunrises and sunsets. That's 1,825 opportunities to live that you might have missed because you were too busy grieving to notice them. I'm not saying grief is wrong. Grieve, of course grieve. I'm dead, and that's terrible and sad and unfair, and you have every right to be angry about it. But don't let grief become your whole life. Don't let me become a ghost you can't escape. Here's what I want for you. I want you to travel. Remember how we always talked about going to Japan? Go without me. Take 1,000,000 pictures, eat everything, get lost in Tokyo, stand under cherry blossoms, and think about me if you want. But don't feel guilty for being there without me. I'd be there with you if I could. Since I can't, you should go anyway. I want you to fall in love again. Not right away. Maybe not for another 5 years. Maybe it already happened and you're reading this thinking I'm an idiot. But whenever it happens, I want you to let yourself. I want you to open your heart to someone new, without feeling like you're replacing me. You're not. Love isn't finite. You can love me and love someone else, both, fully, at the same time. I want you to be happy, Laura messily, imperfectly, guiltlessly, happy. That's why I scheduled this email for 5 years. That's why I'm writing to you from the grave like some kind of melodramatic ghost, because I knew you'd need permission. I knew you'd need someone to tell you it's okay to move forward. So here it is. It's okay. You have my blessing. You have my permission. You have my love, always, but you also have my release. Live, Laura, please, for both of us. There's more. I can see the scroll bar indicating the email continues, but I have to stop. I have to put the phone down and just breathe for a minute because my chest feels like it's caving in. He knew, 5 years ago, dying in a hospital bed, barely able to type. Daniel knew exactly what I'd need to hear today. He knew I'd still be stuck, still guilty, still living half a life because I couldn't imagine living a whole one without him. I've been frozen for 5 years. I didn't even realize it until this moment. I thought I was moving forward. I went back to work after 6 months. I saw friends occasionally. I smiled when appropriate. I functioned, but I wasn't living. I was just existing, going through motions, filling time until I could be with Daniel again, wherever he is, if he's anywhere at all. And he knew that's what I'd do. So he sent me this, a message from beyond death, giving me permission to stop waiting. I pick up the phone. There's one more section. There's something else, something I need you to do for me, not for you for me. This is my dying wish. 5 years delayed. Do you remember the compass I bought in that antique shop in Portland? The brass one with the crack in the glass. You thought it was junk. I thought it was beautiful. I kept it on my desk for years. You used to pick it up sometimes and tap the glass 3 times before putting it down. Tap, tap, tap. You never knew you did it, but I noticed. I always noticed. I hid that compass before I died, somewhere in the house. Somewhere meaningful. I'm not going to tell you where, that would ruin the fun, but I want you to find it. And when you do, I want you to take it somewhere, anywhere. Use it to choose a direction, north, south, east, west. Let the compass decide, and then go. Just go. Take a trip. Take a risk. Let randomness guide you for once instead of grief and guilt and carefully managed expectations. The compass is your next step. Find it, follow it, see where it takes you. This is my last gift to you, Laura. Not the email, not the words, but the permission to be lost, to not have a plan, to let go of control and see what happens when you do. I love you. I loved you. I will always love you, in whatever form love takes when the person doing the loving no longer has a body or a heartbeat. But I love you enough to let you go. And I need you to love me enough to let me go too. When you're ready. I think you're ready. Daniel P.S. There are more emails coming. Year 10, Year 15, Year 25, Year 50. You'll get them when you're supposed to get them. Each one has something different. A different message, a different gift, a different piece of the puzzle. But this one, this 5-year one, is the most important. This is the one where I set you free. The others are just ... reminders, breadcrumbs, ways to make sure you don't forget me completely while you're out there living the life I couldn't give you. PPS. The compass is where we first said I love you. That should narrow it down. The email ends. There's nothing after that. Just white space and the send time. February 23rd, 6:47 a.m. 5 years ago, Daniel was dying. In 6 hours, his breathing would change. In 7, he'd be gone. But at 6:47 a.m., my wake-up time, the time I've been waking up for as long as I can remember, he was scheduling an email to arrive exactly 5 years later, at exactly this moment. He was giving me a scavenger hunt, a reason to move, a reason to look forward instead of backward. The compass, where we first said, I love you. I stand up, walk through the house I've been living in like a mausoleum for 5 years. The house Daniel and I bought when we were 29, full of hope and plans, and the kind of naive optimism that comes from being young and in love and not yet knowing that bodies can fail you so completely. Where did we first say, I love you? I tried to remember. We dated for 3 months before either of us said it. I was terrified of saying it first. He was terrified of scaring me away. We danced around it for weeks, both of us feeling it but neither of us brave enough to speak it out loud. And then one night, we were on the back porch of my old apartment, the one I lived in before we moved in together. It was raining, late summer. We'd been dating for exactly 3 months and 4 days. We were sitting on the steps, drinking cheap wine, watching the rain, and he just said it. I love you. Simple, clear, no preamble, just those 3 words. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I was so relieved. I love you too, I said. I've been waiting for you to say it first so I didn't seem crazy. You are crazy, he said. That's why I love you. But we're not at my old apartment. We're at the house. The one we bought together. We didn't say I love you for the first time here. Unless ... wait, we did. We did say it here, when we first looked at the house. Before we bought it, we were standing on the back porch, this back porch, the one I'm walking toward now. Daniel looked out at the yard and said, I love this place. And I said, I love you. And he said, I love you too. And also this house. Let's buy it. The back porch. I step outside. The rain has stopped. The morning is gray and cold. February. The same month Daniel died. The month I've spent the last 5 years hating. The porch is small. Just big enough for 2 chairs and a small table. Daniel used to sit out here in the mornings before work, drinking coffee, listening to birds. I haven't sat out here in 5 years. It felt wrong, like trespassing on his space. But if he hid the compass here, he wanted me to find it. He wanted me to come back to this space. I start looking. Under the chairs, under the table, in the gaps between the deck boards. Nothing. There's a flower box in the corner. Daniel built it the first spring we lived here. He planted herbs, basil, rosemary, thyme. They all died because neither of us remembered to water them. The box has been empty for years. Just dirt and dead roots and regret. I walk over, kneel down, dig my hands into the cold soil, and I feel it. Hard metal, smooth, wrapped in something. I pull it out. The compass. Daniel's brass compass with the cracked glass. It's wrapped in plastic to protect it from the dirt and moisture. Inside the plastic is a note. Of course there's a note. My hands are shaking so badly, I can barely open the plastic. The note is short. 1 sentence. When you're ready. D. The same words from the email subject line. The same phrase he's been saying to me across 5 years, and death itself. When you're ready, I'm ready. I unwrap the compass. Hold it in my palm. The brass is tarnished. The glass is still cracked. But the needle moves freely, spinning, searching, settling on north. I tap the glass 3 times. Tap, tap, tap. The habit Daniel noticed. The habit I didn't know I had. The needle spins again. settles, points, northeast. Northeast. Where does northeast take me? From Portland, Seattle, further, Canada. I don't know, but that's the point, isn't it? I'm not supposed to know. I'm supposed to trust, to follow, to let go of control and see what happens. I go inside. I book a flight, northeast from Portland. First flight I can find. It's to Anchorage, Alaska. Leaves in 4 hours. I've never been to Alaska. I've never wanted to go to Alaska. It's cold and remote and the opposite of everything I'd normally choose. Perfect. I pack a bag. I don't think about what I'm doing. If I think, I'll talk myself out of it. I'll decide it's crazy, impulsive, irresponsible. But Daniel sent me on a scavenger hunt from beyond the grave, and I'm not going to ignore the first adventure he's given me in 5 years. I make the flight with 7 minutes to spare. I'm breathing hard, sweating despite the cold, and I feel more alive than I have in half a decade. The plane takes off. I'm in a window seat. Below me, Portland disappears into clouds. I press my hand against the glass. The compass is in my other hand. I tap it 3 times. I'm crying, but I'm also smiling, both at the same time. Grief and joy, mixed together, impossible to separate. Daniel is dead. He's been dead for 5 years, but he's also here, in this compass, in this email, in this absolutely insane trip to Alaska that I'm taking because a brass compass told me to go northeast. I'm following directions from a dead man. I'm letting a broken compass choose my path, and somehow, it feels like the most right thing I've done in years. Alaska is cold, colder than I imagined. I rent a car at the airport. I don't have a plan. I just drive. The compass sits on the passenger seat, and whenever I come to a fork in the road, I check it. North, south, east, west. I let the needle decide. I end up in a small town called Seward. Population, 2,700. It's on the edge of the ocean, surrounded by mountains. It's the kind of place Daniel would have loved. Quiet, beautiful, real. I find a small inn. I book a room for 3 nights. The owner is a woman in her 60s named Margaret who asks too many questions and doesn't wait for answers. You look like you're running from something, she says. Or, running towards something. Hard to tell which. Both, I say. Maybe both, she nods. Like this makes perfect sense. Best kind of running. Come down for breakfast tomorrow. I make sourdough pancakes that'll change your life. The room is small, clean. There's a window that looks out at the ocean. I can hear waves. I can smell salt. I stand at the window for an hour, just watching, just breathing, just being somewhere Daniel has never been, and never will be. And it's okay. It doesn't feel like betrayal. It feels like freedom. That night, I open my laptop. I start writing, not to anyone specific, just writing. Getting words out that have been stuck for 5 years. Daniel died 5 years ago today. He sent me an email this morning. He hit a compass. He sent me to Alaska. I think he's trying to teach me how to live again. I think it's working. I write for 3 hours. I write about the last year of his life, about the guilt, about the grief, about the way I've been frozen, stuck, unable to move forward because moving forward felt like leaving him behind. I write about the email, about his permission, about how strange it is to be set free by someone who's been dead for 5 years. And I write about the compass, about following it here, about how terrifying and exhilarating it is to not have a plan, to not know what I'm doing, to just ... trust. When I'm done, it's 2 a.m., I'm exhausted, but I also feel lighter, like I've put down something heavy I've been carrying without realizing it. I sleep better than I have in years. The next morning, Margaret's pancakes do, in fact, change my life. Or maybe it's not the pancakes. Maybe it's the act of sitting in a kitchen with a stranger, eating food I didn't make, laughing at stories about Margaret's ex-husband who she divorced 40 years ago and still complains about. He was a good man, she says, but a terrible husband. Couldn't remember birthdays, anniversaries, any special occasion. 1 year, he missed our anniversary because he was fishing. Fishing. I told him, you can fish when you're dead. Right now, you're married. Didn't matter. He chose fish. Is that why you divorced him? I ask. Oh no. I divorced him because I caught him cheating. The fishing was just annoying. The cheating was unforgivable. She pours me more coffee. But I don't regret the marriage. We had 15 good years before the bad ones. That counts for something. I think about Daniel's boat, about our 12 good years and 1 terrible one. Does the terrible year erase the good ones? Or do the good ones make the terrible one bearable? I lost my husband 5 years ago, I say. I don't know why I'm telling her this, but the words come out anyway. He was sick. MS. It was ... hard. Margaret nods. Doesn't say she's sorry. Doesn't say any of the things people usually say. She just nods. And now you're here. Now I'm here. Good. Seward's a good place for people who need to figure things out. Something about the ocean makes you realize how small you are, how small your problems are. Doesn't make them go away, but makes them feel more manageable. You know, I do know. I'm starting to know. I spend 3 days in Seward. I hike. I sit by the ocean. I eat Margaret's pancakes. I don't think about what I'm supposed to be doing, or where I'm supposed to be. I just exist. In the moment. In the cold. In the beauty. On the 3rd day, I pull out the compass again. Tap it 3 times. The needle spins. Settles. South. Time to go home. The flight back to Portland feels different. I feel different. I'm not healed. You don't heal from losing someone in 3 days and 1 email, but I'm better, lighter, more myself. When I get home, the house doesn't feel like a mausoleum anymore. It just feels like a house. My house. The house Daniel and I bought together, but also the house I live in now. Alone, but not lonely. Not anymore. I put the compass on my desk, right where Daniel used to keep it. I tap the glass 3 times. A habit I'll keep forever now. A small ritual that connects me to him without trapping me in the past. That night, I open my email. I write a reply to Daniel's message, even though I know he'll never read it, even though the email will bounce back. I write it anyway. Daniel, I got your email. I found the compass. I went to Alaska. I ate life-changing pancakes. I met a woman who divorced her husband for cheating but doesn't regret the marriage. I hiked by the ocean. I felt small and big at the same time. You were right. I needed permission. I needed you to tell me it was okay to move forward. I couldn't give that to myself. I'm not going to lie and say I'm all better now. I'm not. I still miss you every single day. I still have moments where I forget you're gone and I turn to tell you something, and then I remember, and it hurts all over again. But I'm starting to live again. Really live. Not just exist. Thank you for the email. Thank you for the compass. Thank you for loving me enough to let me go. I'll be here for the next one. Year 10. I'll be ready. I love you. I loved you. I will always love you. But I'm also ready to love other things. This life. This world. Maybe. Someday. Someone else. When I'm ready. I think I'm getting there. Laura. I hit send. The email bounces back immediately. Undeliverable. The account no longer exists. But I don't care. I needed to say it. Needed to close the loop. 5 years. That's how long it took me to exhale, to stop holding my breath, to stop waiting for permission to live. Daniel gave me that permission today. 5 years late, but right on time. If you're reading this, if you're listening to this, if you've ever lost someone and felt frozen by grief, I want you to know, it's okay to move forward. It's okay to be happy. It's okay to let go without forgetting. The people we love don't want us to stop living when they die. They want us to live harder, love bigger. Take more risks. Follow broken compasses to Alaska and eat pancakes with strangers and hike by oceans that make us feel beautifully, perfectly small. Daniel scheduled that email 5 years in advance because he knew I'd need it. He knew I'd be stuck. He knew I'd need someone to tell me it was okay. So, I'm telling you, it's okay. When you're ready. And if you're not ready yet, that's okay too. Grief has no timeline. Healing has no schedule. You take the time you need. But when you are ready, when that email arrives, when that permission comes, when that compass appears, follow it. Let it take you somewhere new, somewhere unexpected, somewhere the person you lost never got to see, and take them with you, in your heart, in your memories, in the habits they gave you, like tapping a compass 3 times before putting it down. They're gone, but they're also here, in everything you do, in every choice you make, in every direction you choose. Daniel is dead. He's been dead for 5 years. But this morning, he sent me an email that changed my life. And in 10 years, he'll send another one. And 15 years after that, another. My husband's final message was scheduled 5 years later. And then 10. And then 15. And 25. And 50. He's going to be with me for the rest of my life, sending messages from the grave, reminding me to live. And I'm going to listen. Every single time. When you're ready, I'm ready.